diverse and interesting gameplay because you're not going to see it here. We're in Boulder Bay for a Roos on Roos matchup.
Spotting in on the right side is going to be B. Currently at match point 3-1, he is playing in the blue colors, and on the left side, you're going to have Capoch utilizing the red over here with the Roos as well. And the first thing that one has to note is that Capoch has to be super happy with that map. We've talked about this one. This is a super water-heavy map right now. And with the forest placement that he currently has, it's very easy to just wall off the land and focus entirely on the water. As we are seeing him, he's already dropping that dock with the first villager. On the other side, however, oh no, there is a dock. For a moment, I didn't see the villager, and I was genuinely hoping that, you know, B is going to pull off something crazy, because if there's one person that can pull off something crazy, that would be B. And I was like, okay, no villager for a dock, finally something that's not just standard Lloydia fishing boat and attack ship play. But nope, that's not the case. B is dropping his own dock as well.
That's what I love about the blue color in this game. Sometimes you just don't notice things at the water crossing. So you're like, oh no, yeah, finally the game's gonna be. Oh, okay, it's just the same. And it should be said that there's no disgusting generation this time around. I want to highlight that this is fairly balanced, right, for the course of the game where it's going to matter the first 15 minutes. Because one of the most notable things is sometimes one player gets screwed hard on the deep water fish. But in this situation, both of them have one's close to their dock. This is also, by the way, another part of the reason why Roos has become the de facto kings of Boulder Bay, is if you're relying on the generation and the generosity of Relic God giving you nice deep water fish, it's much easier, it's much less like of a risk to just pick the Roos, because if you do have a far off deep water fish, yes, it's still annoying to get out there, but the beautiful thing about the Lloydia fishing boats is they don't need to go back to harbor, right? They just basically, they gaffer tape the fish to a giant seagull and then send it on its way, a homing seagull, to return it to the bay.
Exactly. So, as you said, part of the reason why Roos is so popular on this map is because if you get a very punishing deep water fish spawn, you can still have a rather decent fishing economy with the Roos, which is not something that you can say about other civilizations that do have to return the fish back home. Currently, 2 fishing boats for both players. They both got some very nice dock spots going for themselves, because as much as the deep fish spawn is balanced, it also matters where you place your dock, because oftentimes you don't have a clear vision on the deposit of deep fish. So you just sort of randomly place it close to the shore and hope that there is deep water fish nearby. In this case, both players had deep water fish very close to that dock, but there could have been places where it would have been a lot more difficult to access that deep water fish.
Is it wrong of me? I'm about to say this. I mean, I'm going to get hated for it. I miss animation canceling. Because of this matchup.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
No, hear me out.
I'm resigning.
Hear me out. This matchup's because I would love nothing more. Like, let's be real. It would be over quicker, right? Like, we've seen how quickly Boulder Bay's ended in previous tournaments when someone turns up in your base with 5 scouts and kills your dog. You know, at least you could, like, go, I respect the move. That was ballsy, well played. He has to win the micro fight in the scouts. At least it got us away from 1,000,001 pew-pew ships sitting in the bay, right? Because we know what's coming here. The exciting detail I am at least looking for, with now both of them teching up, in fact, B zooming up a lot quicker, is whether we're going to see that switch, whether there's going to be a push of a transport ship. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but we are at least going to see B preemptively shifting across over towards Capoch's fishing line.
I don't want to sound like that guy, but Capoch is in serious trouble over here. His Golden Gate was heavily delayed compared to his opponent, that he's building it up with 6 vills, whereas B is rushing it up with 10. B knows exactly what's the drill on this map, and he's going to start converting his ships immediately. Capoch is like, okay, run! But, oh, I gotta love that from B. He's splitting up his fishing boats, and the thing is that the moment Capoch wants to start converting his ships, they'll be fired upon, and you're just focusing down the slowly moving fishing boats, and the fishing boats can be killed so easily by the combat ships that by the time they get converted, they're all dead.
B's like that person who's like, he turns up at the office, he starts coughing. It's like, have you got a cold? Get away from me. Like, no, I'm fine. I can work the day out. The best part about all this is the intimidation fishing boat. He has 1 fishing boat chasing 3 fishing boats. He hasn't even converted it. It's literally just been chasing them pointlessly the entire time. And the funniest part about this is the ship that he did convert is about to double snipe on the fishing boats. Meanwhile, in the north, he'll be able to move away with his 1 fishing boat after forcing Capoch to convert the fleet up here.
Yeah, Capoch is going to convert 3 combat vessels over here, but there is already 1 back at home for B, and he's popping out a second one. So he's gonna be able to deal with all 3 of those vessels coming his way. And the most important thing is that B right now has some sort of fishing eco, whereas his opponent isn't. So there is a resource income advantage on the side of B right now, although he could lose that fishing boat close to the shoreline.
Oh, looks like it's going to be targeted now. He didn't shift it away. A little bit of a mistake coming out there. However, he does have the pinch. It's just a case of where he wants to push it. Oh, it looks like B might get caught out. He needs to shift across. He is using the stealth C. And he's dodging out. I don't know if Capoch even saw him. This is beautifully played by B. He dodges death there and ensures that he keeps the stalemate. Otherwise, that would have been a clear lead on the waterfront for Capoch.
Yeah, you can't afford to lose a sort of separated individual ship like that for B. So he had to pull that away and he had to save it. And he used that mist on the water perfectly because this way he was able to hide it, conceal it from Capoch. And this way, Capoch wasn't able to snipe it. Second dock already coming in for B. Capoch dropping his own right now. Things started to stabilize on the water over here as Capoch does lose his scout, however. That's gonna be painful.
You say stabilize. I think he's about to flatline. It's 5 versus 3 right now. 4th one coming out for Capoch, but he's about to be vulnerable when he's building up the second dock. So he needs to be very careful about how he takes his fight. B moves in. Try to start a step in. He shifts to the back of the formation, trying to make sure he's not getting focus fire in. Will drag in. Focus fire coming on the first ship, which is going to peel back and will reveal the second dock being constructed. And it might just be a target onto the villager. But instead, they prioritize the attack ship. They get rid of one, and he is min-maxing well here. B, yet to sacrifice a ship, will continue to just drag them away when they're around half HP. And it means in the meantime, Capoch losing his second ship, and B can now turn around and assassinate the villager just before he finishes off the dock. 65 rather health left. That is all that was in it. And although B will lose one of these ships, all of a sudden with 2 docks versus the 1, he has a clear lead and he has his scout in position to spot the new villager coming in. And he will snipe that one as well. Because the attack ships see their target, they lock on, and they insta-snipe the second villager of Capoch's.
Absolute disaster over here for Capoch. As you said, B is going to sacrifice a couple of ships over here, but as long as he's able to maintain this 2 docks versus 1 scenario, he's in a great position, and he's been taking this fight underneath the repairs of the docks of Capoch. And you see Capoch actually has to place a new dock over there. He's pulling 3 more villagers to somehow get that dock up. But now, he's just on the back foot, and I wonder if B is going to be able to yoink 1 or 2 more villagers over here with his combat ships.
Even if he doesn't, he's already got a clear and emphatic lead on the waterfront now. Another ship's going to fall below to Capoch, while B continue to min-max and drag these burnt husks of ships back to the docks to be repaired. Villagers retreating. That's going to be chased by B, and he can gap close. He moves quicker than these poor little footmen, and that means with the scout vision as well, he's going to butcher them. But he hasn't prioritized.
Why is he going that way?
Oh,
what's happening to Capoch?
No! He's going to lose all 3 of them! Oh, this is pain. I mean, at least we're getting some high-octane action as B is just playing Capoch like a fiddle. It's an instrument designed for 2-year-olds, and B has got 10 years of playing the banjo, and it feels that way, because this is just looking like a rout.
I have no idea why those villagers went to the south. I don't know if that was just a bad pathfinding or Capoch intentionally clicked that way, but whatever happened over there, if those villagers just run straight back to the base of Capoch, he would have been able to get away with probably all of them. It was only the scout chasing them, but by running along the shoreline, he lost 3 of those. He's got 3 docks now, but you gotta wonder if he even has the economy to make all 3 of those work at this point, because he lost 5 villagers in the process of making those docks.
Lidakor, I hate to make it a game versus game situation, but your boy from AoE 2 is getting schooled by the craft lad here, because the micro here from B, he's been out microing Capoch all game long. I've noticed it a few times in this series, but this by far is the most obvious example we have seen yet today.
And it looks like Capoch knows there is blood in the water. He knows exactly that he needs to do something to change things up. He's pulling 4 villagers for what could be a forward, and we don't talk about this just yet. In many ways, if you have a water stalemate, the player that breaks that stalemate just pops out 1 or 2 knights, could easily surprise the opponent, because you have to keep in mind that the players back at home are completely defenseless. There's not even a single military unit, but it's going to be too late for Capoch.
Yeah, I was about to say that the one building, the military building, isn't Capoch. B's got the stable down. This is textbook. He understands that you have to push the advantage off the waterfront and onto land, and it means he's going to be ahead of Capoch. And he knew this was coming because, well, Team Red hasn't been pushing any more boats, despite the fact they have 3 docks sitting here. So full water dominance for B, and soon to be military dominance on land as well. There is going to be a Rax drop coming out from Capoch, but B, is he going to spot this? Well, as it stands right now, his scouts are looking in the wrong place, so you might get away with murder here. The question, however, is what you can do with this. It's just going to be a full Zerg. Trip, Rax drop, everything being thrown but the kitchen sink into this interest, into this investment, because Capoch knows it's do or die in the next 2 minutes.
And look at what B is doing. He's killing a boar at the bottom with the ship. That's going to give him 75 gold, and that would push him to tier 2 bounty as well. Such a clever thing, and we haven't even mentioned that he cleaned up the water and converted some of his combat ships to trade vessels. Look at the amount of gold those trade vessels turn back every single run. One of the most underappreciated things in Boulder Bay 1v1s is trade ships being utilized to gather a ton of gold, and that's exactly what B is doing with those newly converted trade vessels.
I'm glad to see it, because usually we see Roost players shift back towards with fishing boats, right? It's usually the French that do this trade because they get additional benefits off of water trade, but it's definitely worthwhile. It's a heavy investment initially, but it's a safe one. There's no risk. The only risk is whether Capoch can get aggressive enough on land. He's got the hardened spearman pushing out. 2 villagers are randomly going to die as B, unorthodox from what I was just bragging about, will miss micro the villagers and lose 2 of them. And he needs to react quickly. Archer rangers are being dropped. Make that 3 archer rangers to address what's incoming. And with the villagers here and the spearmen as well, it looks like Capoch is going all in on the Rams.
He needs to, but does he have enough to escort them? There is multiple defensive towers over here, town center fire as well, and Capoch doesn't have a spectacular army over here. Every moment he delays, B is gonna get a larger and larger window to push this one. Capoch will drop a forward tower, but you gotta wonder if he's gonna be able to strike fast enough to do this before the archer numbers increase for B.
Surely B just uses the archers right now. He can kill this. And it's look at the whole villager force. They're moving. And he's got textiles again. So they're so tanky. And there is nothing Capoch can do against this. He's outnumbered. Wooden Fortress. The archers aren't focused firing. It looks like the Wooden Fortress is going to go up. Capoch will have the defense. However, with this many villagers, they might just instantly burn it to the ground. Repairs coming out. He can't garrison it. No! Oh no, the damage done! Capoch, he meant to garrison it, he clicked, but because the structure was damaged, instead, the villagers will be butchered. The spearmen don't garrison quick enough, and although we'll stick 1 or 2 in finally, it doesn't matter because B will just turn around with what feels like 1,000,001 villagers to burn it to the ground.
He's going to focus on the ram first. He wants to save that archer range. But we have to keep in mind, he's got ultimate water control. He doesn't care about the villager numbers at this point because he's got the fishing eco, he's got the trade. He can sacrifice 10 villagers to make sure this aggression from Capoch is cleaned up. And that's exactly what he did. He's realizing that the villager numbers are irrelevant at this point. All that matters is stopping Capoch, and that he accomplishes.
What a play out of B. He will wrap it up here. 4-1. Yeah, it wasn't the most boring snooze fest. We got something a little bit exciting here on Boulder Bay. Even though it was Roost on Roost, B showing us exactly how you can min-max the micro and exploit your opponents so well. And one fantastic thing, we saw it there, the Peasant Rebellions again. From start to finish in this series, if there was one thing I was going to highlight, it's the fact that B respects the power of textiles, and everyone else should as well.
And indeed, that was the story of this entire game. He realized that villagers with textiles, they have 50% more HP than the default ones, and the most important thing is that you have a lot of them. In most cases in these feudal age pressures, we're talking about 5 spearmen, 6 spearmen, 2 horsemen.